The character of Hans in Frozen is one of Disney's best twist villains. His reveal as the evil antagonist is brilliantly executed in what's maybe one of the greatest Disney films of all time. But let's be honest, Hans's ultimate punishment at the end of the film, kind of meh. Don't get me wrong, I know Frozen is a whimsical cartoon with a talking snowman and magical ice powers, so we're not exactly aiming for realism. But Hans committed some heinous crimes, and his punishment feels more like a slap on the wrist, or more accurately, a right hook into the fjord from Anna. So let's dive into the long list of Hans's crimes before we dissect why his punishment doesn't quite measure up. Here are the many crimes of Hans of the Southern Isle. 1. Attempted regicide. Hans plots to kill not just one, but both Princess Anna and Queen Elsa in his bid to seize the throne of Arendelle. That's 2 counts of attempted regicide. Impressive in the worst way possible. Number 2. Fraud and deception. Hans tricks Anna into believing he's madly in love with her, all to secure a shortcut to power. Emotional manipulation for political gain, that's not just villain stuff, it's practically a masterclass in treachery. Number 3. Attempted murder. When Anna's heart begins freezing and she's dying, Hans outright refuses to save her. He literally leaves her to die, knowing full well he could save her with a simple act of true love. Number 4. Conspiracy to usurp the throne. Hans's entire scheme is to steal the throne through lies, manipulation, and even violence. That's treason or sedition, depending on the kingdom's laws, but either way, it's not great. Number 5. Endangering public safety. By locking up Elsa and creating chaos, Hans destabilizes Arendelle and endangers its citizens during a kingdom-wide blizzard. Number 6. False imprisonment. Hans orders Queen Elsa's imprisonment without authority by locking her up in chains when she's already terrified of her powers. Not exactly lawful behavior. So attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy, regicide, these are all serious crimes. But what punishment does Hans receive? Well, practically nothing. Arendelle's justice system is apparently just Anna punching him in the face, followed by an exile back to the Southern Isle. Oh yeah, and in a dramatic scene, Arendelle also severs trade ties with the Southern Isle. Now, the scene is made even more amusing by Kai, the castle's head servant, who delivers these proclamations with an incredibly smug smile. He takes a lot of pleasure in deliberately mispronouncing Weaseltown as Weaseltown, acting as if this childish name-calling is some sort of devastating political maneuver, but in reality, it's a remarkably weak response to an assassination attempt of both of Arendelle's rulers. The rationale for this punishment, well, I guess Hans's family will handle it because his brothers will supposedly be mad that he tried to leapfrog them to seize power. Sure, because nothing screams justice like relying on this guy and your older siblings to ground you. Who knows, they may even admire his initiative. But let's be real, this was a terrible decision. Hans's actions could have tarnished his family name, but leaving punishment to his home country assumes that his family would even care. For all we know, they might protect him or let him off easy. And if you're Arendelle, you're just going to let him walk away after endangering the entire kingdom? And as far as banning trading, sure, there will be economic and political consequences for the Southern Isles, but the severance will also negatively affect their biggest trade partner as well. You know, this kingdom called Arendelle. So is the trade embargo even a good idea to begin with? Now, unfortunately, we don't get any closure. Even the follow-up Frozen Fever doesn't offer much. We see Hans shoveling horse manure like a servant, which is a fall from grace, sure, but hardly a fitting punishment for attempted murder, treason, and everything else. So in a historical context, what would happen to Hans? Well, in history, conspirators who attempted to assassinate kings or queens didn't get off so lightly. Think about Guy Fawkes and the gunpowder plot. He was tortured and executed. Anthony Babington, who tried to kill Elizabeth I, executed. Francois Ravaillac, who assassinated Henry IV, executed in brutal fashion. So Hans's crimes likely would have earned him a public execution, not a ticket home. But hey, this is Disney. They're not about to give us a guillotine scene in a kid's movie, and nor should they. So what should have happened to Hans? If execution is off the table, what should have been a better punishment? Some family-friendly justice. Well, here is my take. Okay, Anna still punches Hans. The Duke still gets kicked out, but at some point after this scene, we see a chained Hans with a blackened eye looking dejected in the back of Kristoff's new sleigh. With Kristoff at the helm, we see a proud Sven hauling him away as though he's an ice block. The movie ends the same way, but after the credits roll, we see Hans shivering in the snowy mountains. At first, he's confused, but as the snow clears, he sees Elsa's ice palace in the distance again. Cue Marshmallow, the giant snow monster, stomping into frame. Remember earlier in the film, Hans cut his leg off and the big man plummets to an icy fall below. Well, this time, Marshmallow picks Hans up, glares at him, and lets out a furious roar. Hans responds with the most cowardly scream ever, and cut to black. No need to show his fate explicitly, but it's heavily implied that Hans gets the icy comeuppance that he deserves. It's poetic justice and a much more satisfying end for such a despicable character. So what are my final thoughts? Well, Hans's crimes were serious, and his punishment in Frozen just didn't cut it. Whether it's historical accuracy or Disney logic, we can all agree that he got off way too easy. But hey, maybe in Frozen 3, we'll finally see Hans get what's coming to him. So let me know what you think. Was Hans's punishment too lenient? Or do you feel it fit the tone of the movie? Go ahead and write a comment below.